Malia and Sasha, under the strangest of circumstances, you have become two amazing young women.
This summary presents a humanized, non-factual narrative overview of a warm, fictionalized Thanksgiving story centered on family, generational change, and quiet joy within a well-known household. Rather than reporting real events, the story unfolds as an imagined moment that explores what happens when public lives step out of the spotlight and into deeply personal spaces. At its heart, the narrative reflects universal themes of love, continuity, and renewal. It captures how a single family gathering can become a turning point, not because of status or history, but because of shared emotion. This summary focuses on tone, meaning, and storytelling elements, presenting the narrative as a reflection on family bonds, new beginnings, and the timeless power of togetherness. A Thanksgiving morning. Unlike any other. The story opens on a quiet November morning that feels suspended in time. Outside, the city moves slowly under a blanket of gray clouds, the chill in the air signaling the approach of winter and the familiar rhythm of the holiday season. Inside the home, however, the atmosphere carries a different kind of warmth. It is not the hurried warmth of preparation or routine, but a deeper, steadier feeling that something meaningful is unfolding. The usual sounds of Thanksgiving are present: footsteps in the kitchen, soft conversation, the subtle hum of a house coming alive, yet they feel gentler, almost reverent. This morning stands apart from countless others that came before it. The narrative carefully slows the pace, inviting the reader to linger in small details. The filtered sunlight, the quiet pauses between words, the sense that time itself has softened. It becomes clear that this Thanksgiving is not anchored in tradition alone. Instead, it marks a turning point, a moment of transition that cannot be rushed or announced loudly. What makes this morning special is not a single dramatic event, but an emotional undercurrent that runs through the household. There is anticipation, but not the restless kind. It is thoughtful, reflective, filled with awareness that something deeply personal is taking shape. The home feels like a refuge, separated from the outside world and its expectations. This separation allows space for authenticity, for emotions to surface naturally. The story subtly signals a shift away from public identity toward private meaning. This is not a day defined by ceremony or performance. It is defined by presence. The calm tone sets the foundation for everything that follows, framing the morning as a threshold between what has been and what is just beginning. In this stillness, the reader senses that the day will be remembered not for what was done, but for how it was felt. A family gathering beyond tradition. As the family comes together, the narrative makes a deliberate choice to strip away labels and accomplishments. There are no speeches, no acknowledgments of past roles, no reminders of public life. What remains is something far more grounding: people showing up for one another. The gathering feels rare not because of who is present, but because of how present they are. Each interaction carries intention, as if everyone understands that this moment deserves their full attention. The story emphasizes that this reunion is not driven by obligation or tradition alone. Thanksgiving, while still the backdrop, becomes secondary to the emotional weight of togetherness. The meal, the decorations, even the familiar rituals fade slightly into the background as the focus turns inward. This is a family meeting itself at a new stage, aware that relationships evolve just as people do. There is a quiet intimacy in the way the gathering is portrayed. No cameras, no announcements, no outside voices. The absence of spectacle is intentional and meaningful. It reinforces the idea that the most important moments often happen when no one is watching. This family, accustomed to visibility, now finds value in privacy. The gathering becomes a reclaiming of something simple and human. The narrative highlights how shared history binds the family, but it also shows that history alone is not enough. What truly connects them is mutual presence and care in the present moment. There is a sense that priorities have shifted, that being together matters more than maintaining tradition for tradition's sake. This Thanksgiving is framed as an evolution, not a repetition. By centering the story on love rather than legacy, the narrative reminds the reader that even the most recognizable families experience deeply personal milestones. At its core, this gathering is about connection, about honoring where they have been while making space for where they are going. The quiet arrival of a new chapter. At the heart of the story is a new beginning, introduced with gentleness and restraint. The arrival of a new generation is not announced with fanfare or celebration, but with quiet acceptance and care. The narrative resists dramatization, choosing instead to focus on how naturally life-changing moments can blend into everyday life. This choice makes the moment feel authentic and deeply human. The baby's presence is described not as an interruption, but as a soft reshaping of the family's rhythm. Conversations slow. Movements become more careful. Attention shifts instinctively. There is no need for explanation. Everyone feels the significance without having to name it. The story captures how profound change often arrives quietly, altering dynamics through subtle gestures rather than grand declarations. This new chapter represents more than growth. It represents continuity. The baby becomes a living reminder that life moves forward regardless of past achievements or chapters already written. For a family with a long public history, this moment exists entirely outside of that narrative. It belongs solely to them. The story also highlights the strength found in privacy. Choosing to experience such a milestone away from public attention is framed as an act of intention and protection. It suggests that intimacy is not something to hide, but something to preserve. By keeping this moment within the family, its meaning deepens. This section reinforces the idea that not all celebrations need witnesses. Some are meant to be held closely, remembered through feeling rather than documentation. The new chapter is not something to announce to the world, but something to nurture quietly, allowing love and connection to define its beginning. A father becoming a grandfather. One of the most powerful moments in the story unfolds when a father steps into the role of grandfather. The narrative lingers here, exploring the internal shift that occurs when new life is placed gently into his arms. This is not portrayed as dramatic or overwhelming, but as deeply transformative. Years of experience, responsibility, and public composure seem to dissolve in the presence of something so small and fragile. The contrast between strength and softness is central to this moment. The story shows how vulnerability emerges naturally, without effort or resistance. A tiny hand wrapping around a finger becomes more powerful than any title or accomplishment. It grounds him in the present, pulling him fully into the moment. This transformation is described as humbling. It strips away roles and expectations, leaving only connection. The narrative suggests that no matter how much one has seen or done, there are still experiences that feel entirely new. Becoming a grandfather is framed as one of those rare moments that reshapes identity quietly but permanently. Emotion surfaces not as spectacle, but as subtle acknowledgement. A pause, a softened expression, a breath held a little longer. These small details convey how deeply the moment resonates. The story reflects a universal truth. That love often reveals itself most clearly in simplicity. In this moment, strength is redefined. It is no longer about leadership or endurance, but about presence and care. The grandfather's experience becomes a reminder that life's most meaningful roles are often the ones we never fully anticipate, and that love has the power to transform even the most familiar sense of self. A mother. Witnessing time come full circle. The story gently turns its focus toward a mother watching her daughter step into motherhood, and this shift brings with it a quiet emotional depth. There is no rush in these moments, no dramatic exchange of words. Instead, meaning lives in observation. The mother notices the way her daughter holds the baby, the instinctive care in her movements, the calm confidence that was once learned at her own side. In these small gestures, memories surface uninvited. She remembers late nights, tiny clothes, and the overwhelming mix of exhaustion and love that defined her own early years of parenting. Time feels strangely folded in on itself. The past and present exist together, not in conflict, but in continuity. Objects like old baby clothes or keepsakes become more than fabric and thread. They carry stories, reminding her that what once felt like fleeting moments have now returned in a new form. Pride settles in quietly, mixed with a gentle nostalgia that acknowledges how fast life moves. This moment is deeply reflective rather than emotional on the surface. There are no tears demanded by the narrative, only a steady awareness that parenting never truly ends. It simply changes shape. The mother understands that her role has evolved, but her connection remains. The experience is bittersweet, not because something is lost, but because something so familiar has come back around, transformed yet recognizable. It is a realization filled with peace, gratitude, and a profound sense of fulfillment. The strength of private choices. One of the most meaningful threads in the story is the decision to keep deeply personal milestones private. The daughter's journey into motherhood is portrayed as calm, intentional, and self-directed. There is no urgency to share, explain, or invite outside voices into the moment. This choice is not framed as secrecy, but as care. It reflects an understanding that some experiences gain strength when protected. The narrative treats privacy as a form of empowerment. By stepping away from external expectations, the daughter creates space to fully inhabit her new role. Her calm presence suggests confidence rooted not in approval, but in self-trust. This approach allows her to experience motherhood on her own terms, free from comparison or performance. The story respects the idea that not all moments need witnesses to be meaningful. In fact, it suggests the opposite. That intimacy, when preserved, deepens emotional impact. The absence of public validation does not diminish the significance of the moment. Instead, it amplifies it. This quiet strength becomes a point of admiration within the family. The daughter's choices reflect authenticity, reminding everyone that visibility is not a measure of importance. Some of life's most defining moments unfold softly, held close rather than shared widely. This decision gives the gathering a sacred quality, making the experience feel grounded, intentional, and deeply human. A sister stepping into a new role. The narrative then shifts toward the younger sister, who finds herself stepping into an unexpected but welcome role. Becoming an aunt brings a new layer of identity, one she embraces with genuine excitement. Her joy is light and playful, yet beneath it lies a growing sense of responsibility. This role is not taken lightly, even as it is approached with humor and warmth. Her personality shines through in the way she expresses love. Creativity becomes her language, whether through sketches, jokes, or quiet promises whispered with a smile. The story highlights how not everyone nurtures in the same way, and that care can take many forms. Her approach is uniquely hers, blending imagination with presence. Becoming an aunt represents growth. It places her within the family's evolving structure in a way that feels meaningful and affirming. She is no longer just a sibling, but a guide, a supporter, and a constant presence in a new life. This realization brings pride and a deeper sense of belonging. The narrative portrays this role as both lighthearted and significant. Her promise to be there, to support and love, reinforces the idea that family bonds extend far beyond parental titles. In her quiet joy, the story celebrates the many ways love shows up, reminding us that every role within a family carries its own kind of importance. A meal that became a milestone. When the family finally gathers around the table, the story makes it clear that the meal itself is no longer the focal point. The familiar dishes are present, but they fade into the background as attention naturally centers on something deeper. The baby becomes the quiet heart of the gathering, not demanding attention, but drawing it effortlessly. In her presence, priorities shift. Gratitude takes on a new tone. When the family shares what they are thankful for, the words feel more intentional, less routine. Each expression reflects personal growth, connection, and an awareness of how much has changed. The act of giving thanks becomes less about tradition and more about recognition. This meal transforms into a moment of acknowledgement. The family realizes that they are standing at a point of transition, marking not just a holiday but a change in their shared story. There is a collective understanding that life has moved forward in a meaningful way. The narrative emphasizes that milestones are not always marked by ceremony or announcement. Sometimes they are recognized through shared silence, knowing glances, and a sense of presence. This Thanksgiving meal becomes memorable not because of what was served, but because of what was understood. It stands as a reminder that the most important moments are often the quiet ones, shaped by awareness, gratitude, and the simple act of being together. Gratitude spoken from the heart. As each person expresses what they are thankful for, the narrative reveals individual perspectives shaped by the new arrival. Gratitude becomes a shared language, connecting generations. The reflections are simple yet profound, focusing on beginnings, love, and future possibilities. This moment reinforces the theme that gratitude gains depth when rooted in lived experience. The baby's presence reframes the past year, highlighting how new life can redefine priorities. Evening reflections by the fire. As night falls, the story slows, allowing space for reflection. The warmth of the fire mirrors the emotional closeness in the room. The baby sleeping peacefully becomes a symbol of hope and continuity. This quiet setting contrasts sharply with public life, reinforcing the value of stillness. The narrative emphasizes how moments of silence can carry profound meaning. The family's shared presence feels complete and unhurried. Letting go of public identity. In this section, the story highlights the release of public roles. Titles and expectations fade, leaving only relationships. This transition is portrayed as liberating, offering peace after years of visibility. The narrative suggests that true fulfillment often comes from stepping back rather than stepping forward. The family's ability to exist simply as themselves becomes a powerful statement about identity and purpose. Legacy redefined through love. The story reframes legacy not as achievement, but as connection. The new generation represents continuity shaped by care rather than expectation. The family reflects on how values are passed down quietly through presence and example. This section emphasizes that influence does not require control, only guidance. The baby becomes a living reminder that the future is shaped by love and support. Hopes. Spoken for tomorrow. Conversation turns gently toward the future, filled with hope rather than certainty. The family imagines a world shaped by kindness, opportunity, and freedom. These hopes are not grand declarations, but thoughtful wishes rooted in care. The narrative emphasizes that imagining a better future begins at home. The baby's presence inspires optimism without pressure. A house filled with quiet joy. As the evening deepens, the story settles into calm contentment. Laughter, sketches, and soft conversation fill the space. The absence of urgency allows the moment to linger. This section highlights the beauty of unstructured time, where connection unfolds naturally. The house becomes a sanctuary of warmth and acceptance.